Every day, something dramatic happens in the Caribbean that affects our lives. We'll give you the details. We'll give you the facts on Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick. Host Eddie Frederick.
Welcome to Caribbean Perspective. So glad you can join us. The story that dominates in today's edition for Tuesday, 30th September 2025, and brought to you in association with our friends at Antillean Group. Trinidad and Tobago's top cop vouches for the togetherness of his management team. Details after this important message.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all, perils big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so glad to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The hurricane season is now upon us, so we as Caribbean people need to remember to think safety and be prepared. Avoid venturing outside during a storm or hurricane, especially if there are strong winds. Rooftops and other debris are often blown about and can cause great damage.
Welcome back. There has never been a more unified front in the Trinidad and Tobago Police Service. This, according to Police Commissioner Alistair Guevara, who defended his decision to reassign the Deputy Commissioners of Police. This TTT News item fills us in.
Commissioner Guevara explained the reason behind the decision.
The purpose of the reassignments was that they could bring the particular expertise that they possess to different areas. So it's like you work in the print media. At some point in time, you may end up in journalism on another side. You may have to do video for TV. So it's all about rotation so that the proper skill sets can be expanded to all the different areas. I could close my eye right now and put any one of them in any of the portfolios, and I am 100% they will perform. Clap for that.
On September 15th, Deputy Commissioners of Police DCP Junior Benjamin, Suzette Martin, and Natasha George were transferred to new portfolios. DCP Benjamin was moved from operations to administration, DCP Martin from intelligence to operations, and DCP George from administration to intelligence and investigations.
Trade between the People's Republic of China and Trinidad and Tobago has exceeded US $1 billion over the past few years. This was revealed by the newest Chinese ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago during a reception on Friday evening. Sunil Lala of TTT News reports.
We are all pleased to see that our bilateral trade has exceeded $1 billion for 4 consecutive years, ranking among the highest in the Caribbean region.
He presented his credentials to President Christine Kangaloo earlier this month, September 2nd to be exact. But China's newest ambassador to Trinidad and Tobago, Ren Hongyan, delivered a speech that showed the continuing strengthened ties between China and Trinidad and Tobago. Speaking at an event held to commemorate the 76th anniversary of the founding of the People's Republic of China on Friday evening, Ambassador Hongyan said trade is also quickly being driven by major infrastructure projects.
The flagship Belt and Road Cooperation Project, the Phoenix Park Industrial Estate, is expanding steadily and will further leverage the advantages of the special economic zone to inject new momentum into Trinidad and Tobago's economic growth. The Forensic Science Center project has completed the tendering process and will soon commence construction.
Acting Minister of Foreign and CARICOM Affairs Dr. Kennedy Swarat-Singh reaffirmed Trinidad and Tobago's commitment to the partnership, noting a recent agreement that will fund new development projects across the country.
In fact, only earlier this week, our two governments entered into an agreement on economic and technical cooperation, through which the government of the People's Republic of China generously donated an aid grant worth 100 million RMB, equivalent of 94 million TT, And through this grant, Trinidad and Tobago will be able to implement some of its new projects, which will impact positively the citizens of our country.
And the ambassador said China remains committed to expand cooperation with Trinidad and Tobago across multiple sectors.
China stands ready to work with Trinidad and Tobago to expand cooperation in trade, culture, ecology, security, renewable energy, artificial intelligence, and many other areas, so as to bring greater benefits to our peoples and build an even closer China-Trinidad and Tobago community with a shared future. Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends, today also marks the 5th week since my arrival in Trinidad and Tobago. I'm growing even fonder of this beautiful country.
In 2024, China and Trinidad and Tobago celebrated its 50th year of diplomatic relations. Sonolala, TTT News.
In the meantime, Standard & Poor's issued stern warning to Trinidad and Tobago. More in the CNC3 News item with Andrea Perez-Sobas.
Standard & Poor's, the global credit rating company, is sounding a warning on the TNT economy. S&P today has changed Trinidad and Tobago's economic outlook from stable to negative, though it kept the country's credit rating at BBB-. The agency said TNT's heavy dependence on oil and gas, falling production, and weak public finances are raising concerns. Energy makes up almost 80% of exports and more than a quarter of government revenue. S&P expects the economy to grow only 1% in 2025 and 2026, with debt still climbing. It also pointed to a $1 billion bond repayment due in 2026 as a major challenge. Responding to the report, Finance Minister Devendranath Thakur says the revised outlook highlights the need for transformative reforms to advance economic diversification, strengthen fiscal discipline, and ensure long-term growth. In an interview with CNC3 News, economist Professor Emeritus Patrick Watson says while he has not seen the report in its entirety, the revised outlook is not a good position for the economy.
I agree that we are way too undiversified. And if that is one of the issues that raised by Standard & Poor's, then that is something that is as old as I am, even older. All right, that we have not diversified.
Andrea Perez-Sobas, CNC3 News.
You're listening to Caribbean Perspective with Eddie Frederick,
in association with our friends at
Antillean Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.
The U.S. authorities have their eyes set on a Haitian national for deportation for his role in what is considered a campaign of violence and gang support. Antonio Day of HGP Nightly News shares that story.
United States Secretary of State Marco Rubio says that the unidentified Haitian national has jeopardized U.S. foreign policy objectives regarding Haiti and the safety of the United States. I am pleased to announce the latest U.S. actions against an individual whose presence and activities in our country has potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States, Rubio said. The Department of State has determined that a Haitian national who engaged in a campaign of violence and gang support should no longer remain in the United States. Based on my determination as Secretary of State, the Department of Homeland Security will initiate removal charges against this individual, said Rubio, stating that under the Immigration and Naturalization Act, an alien is deportable from our country if the Secretary of State has reasonable grounds to believe that the alien's presence or activities in the United States would have potentially serious adverse foreign policy consequences for the United States. This week, U.S. Department of State Principal Deputy Spokesperson Tommy Pigott said that Washington was publicly designating Arnel Belizaire, a former member of the Haitian Chamber of Deputies, and Antonio Jeremy, and former Haitian senator, for their involvement in the significant corruption during their time in public office.
U.S. President Donald Trump on Tuesday last week said recent U.S. strikes on boats carrying alleged Venezuelan drug traffickers delivered a powerful warning to anyone seeking to bring drugs into the United States. We on News has more.
U.S. military officials are exploring various options to target drug traffickers in Venezuela, with potential strikes within the country's borders, possibly starting in a matter of weeks. NBC News, citing 4 sources familiar with the ongoing discussions, report that plans are being considered that focus mainly on drone strikes targeting members and leaders of drug trafficking groups as well as drug labs. The sources also mentioned that these strikes could potentially take place in Venezuela within the coming weeks. However, they noted that U.S. President Donald Trump has not yet given approval for any action to move forward. Any strike inside Venezuela would represent a sharper turn in the Trump administration's use of force against purported drug targets, escalating tensions with the country's leadership. According to Trump's post on Truth Social, the U.S. military recently targeted at least 3 boats from Venezuela, which were allegedly involved in transporting narco traffickers and drugs. Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro has repeatedly refuted any role in drug trafficking, insisting that the U.S. is engaged in efforts to destabilize his government. According to the U.S. military, at least 8 ships with more than 4,000 personnel have been deployed to the region, with F-35 fighter jets also dispatched to Puerto Rico. In parallel, the MV Ocean Trader, a covert forward operating base for U.S. Special Operations, has been observed in the Caribbean. The 633-foot MV Ocean Trader, rarely seen outside the Mediterranean or West Asia, is a mobile base that can house nearly 160 military personnel and a crew of up to 50. It has provisions for 45 days at sea and is also equipped to launch and recover helicopters, drones and small boats. The ship also carries combatant craft assault boats for SEAL team operations and includes secure communication suits for handling top secret intelligence. Now, both Russia and China, longtime allies of Venezuela, have responded sharply to the growing tensions in the Caribbean. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov, following his meeting with Venezuela's Foreign Minister at the UNG on Friday, condemned the use of force against sovereign states and asserted Russia's full support for Venezuela. While China, on the other hand, warned that U.S. actions in the waters of Venezuela threaten freedom of navigation, Beijing also expressed its opposition to any efforts that disrupt peace and stability in Latin America and the Caribbean. Now, the U.S. actions against Venezuela have also raised concerns among its allies in the region. Cuba has condemned the recent strikes on Venezuelan boats, calling them a threat to the entire continent and further pledging support in the event of a conflict. Meanwhile, Nicaragua has accused the United States of attempting to steal Venezuela's oil reserves, citing the deployment of warships in the Caribbean.
I am Eddie Frederick. This has been Caribbean Perspective, a whole new approach to highlighting developments in the Caribbean.
In the meantime, please follow us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel for daily regional news and more, in association with our friends at Antillian Group.
Believe in our strength, we'll stand by you. Protection from all perils, big and small. Reassurance we give, it's so clear to see. Peace of mind, that's our service guarantee. We look after all our family. Yes, we do at every opportunity.
Antillian Group, underwriters of all classes of insurance solutions for your protection and investment. Live well financially.